an idea is not enough. Execution is really what it's all about. And the idea behind the podcast was, given an idea, what does it take to make it happen?
Yeah. And what is the minimal thing that needs to happen, right, to get it done? So simplifying ideas down to their core of what is the one thing, what is the one feature that you can run with that will make this work, right? And then execute on that. So we were talking about somebody having a barbecue grill cleaning service in one of our episodes. Run some ads, go out, clean somebody's grill. Like that. So that's like breaking it down to its basics. So what does that actually look like? Right.
What are the parts involved with with getting that business off the ground?
Right. I mean, like if we wanted to start that business today, like if we finish recording this,
what do you need to make
and
that
we said,
happen?
okay, let's do this, right? Let's get a piece of paper and let's write down
and
the
one
steps.
Write down the steps. And one of the ideas that you actually talked about was first just see what the interest level is out there.
Right. And this comes more into play with some bigger ideas, I guess you could say, right? It works well, especially with like software as a service ideas, where you want to gauge interest before having to build this giant thing out, right? So, for example, if we were doing a software as a service thing, it might take you 6 months to build that software application.
So you really want to know before you even get started, what
before you
is
get
the
started,
interest level out there?
It's no different than any other business plan in the real world, which meaning like if you were going to go open a restaurant, you'd want to do a little market research to know, does anybody live here or am I opening this in the middle of a cornfield?
That's what Gordon Ramsay used to do on his Kitchen Nightmares show. He would walk around the neighborhood where the restaurant was located.
Yeah.
Figure out what was not there.
Right.
What the general clientele was of the area, what they expected,
and what they're looking for.
What they're looking for, what's not available around there.
So it's market research. So one of the easy ways to do that in today's day and age is to create a landing page being a web page that is just one single page,
one function,
outlines what you're looking to do, and then most likely collects email addresses.
Essentially, you're putting information up there and asking people if you want to stay in the loop on what I'm developing.
It's like a Kickstarter page,
Kickstarter, but you're giving me your email so that I can update you on where it's going to be at. Maybe you become a beta tester.
Maybe you get a discount.
Maybe you get a discount on a first trial or whatever. Right.
You're one of the first people that gets to play with it.
And so an idea like the grill idea, so
cleaning barbecue grills. I create a landing page. Barbecue guys are us.
Landing page, yep.
And the landing page collects email addresses. Maybe it collects zip codes or something. Because this is an actual service-based business.
Sure.
That would help quite a bit. You could make a more complete contact form and just make the fields optional, but require like zip code and email address, so if people wanted to give you their phone number and everything, great. Start building your lists now. And then you need to get that landing page in front of eyeballs. So how do you do that? So one way to do that would be with Facebook and Instagram ads. And the reason we say Facebook and Instagram is because that covers 80% of the public. Especially for service-based businesses, if we're looking at age ranges, right? We're saying we want somebody probably age 30 to 60 that you're targeting, people that have a little bit of disposable income that can afford to have somebody clean their barbecue grill versus they'll have to just do it themselves because they're strapped. Age 25 or 30 up.
And the idea that you had was essentially to show on a podcast what that process looks like based on what the service or product is that you're going to launch.
Yes.
What would your experience of posting a Facebook ad and Instagram ad look like?
Right.
And we would go through that. We would show like the geography, the demographics, interest levels, obviously. And I've done a few of these myself.
And then what to do with that data.
Once you get it, and that's how you attract eyeballs to the landing page.
Right.
Landing page gathers email addresses for your list.
Right.
And then based on the list, is there any data out there about what is the threshold? Like, I'm going to do this.
I would say that you want to convert, I would say on the low end, like 20% probably of people that are seeing your ad.
And is there I mean, based on that 20%.
Because we want to also make sure that those ads are very targeted.
Sure.
And we're hitting people in the geographic area and of the age range that we're looking for, that are homeowners is ideal, right? So Facebook allows you to kind of segment out these people into these different things. I should be the first to say I'm not a super heavy Facebook ad person. I mean, there's people out there that are, you could hire somebody to do it that knows it very well.
There are plenty of marketers out there. Yeah, there's no question. I've used it a couple of times, and it's it's somewhat successful. I did it for music release, but so that threshold, there's got to be some calculation that's made based on the cost investment, based on your startup costs. Should the threshold change based on that? Like if my startup costs are going to be steep.
It's really your risk averseness or not. It really depends how much effort you're putting forth too, right? And like a barbecue grill cleaning service versus a software as a service product, there's a lot less upfront effort in a barbecue grill cleaning service, right? So for example, in that barbecue grill cleaning service, if I wanted to start that today or start the process of starting that today, I'd go out, I'd create a landing page with some, well-written content. I would then run some Facebook ads against that, targeting the right people. And that's it. I don't need to do much beyond that.
Yeah.
And then I'll see how I'm converting. And I would run a few different Facebook ads with different creative.
A/B testing, absolutely.
A/B testing the creative and the content. Maybe even have a couple different landing pages. If you do 2 or 3 of them to convert and you see which one converts better, you stick with that one.
And as a marketer and a designer and a writer, I have to stress how important that's going to be for those landing pages and the ads themselves. Great copy, great design, especially on the landing page. The design can actually have an impact, especially for homeowners who want to make sure that they can trust someone who's going to come to their home and be on their property, cleaning a grill.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. When you're starting a service business like this, you don't have any reviews, right? So, I mean, you could get some from family and friends and put those on the website like, oh my gosh, best grill cleaning I've ever received.
Yeah, I mean, people do that.
Yeah, and people definitely do that. And you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
So my take would be, I would look at, how much can you afford, right? So let's say if we're taking that grill cleaning business, I'm willing to invest. I really think this can go. And something like a grill cleaning business, the risk level isn't that bad, right?
No, I mean, chances what do you need? A van and a bunch of cleaning supplies?
Right, and chances are you could probably get 50 customers within a half-hour drive of where you live.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty easily.
Yeah.
I would think. Well, what do I want to spend on that? Well, is it worth it for me to spend $10 per person? Because let's assume that each one of those people costs each grill that you're going to clean on average, you're going to charge $50.
Yeah. You want the sales qualified leads.
The people that are actually going to convert.
Yeah.
The people that are going to pay us money, right? That's ideal. And so there's things that go into that. How good the landing page is, that A/B testing we're talking about, how good the creative of the ad is, how well you're targeting, because you could just switch one parameter in a Facebook ad and start targeting, let's say you start targeting women instead of men, and instantly you see
you never know.
Your success rate go through the roof. I mean, okay, well then let's target women. And moving forward, that becomes a big part of your marketing strategy. So I'll pay $10 per person. So I'm willing to spend $10 out of the 50 I make for those first 50 people to get this business off the ground. Because then from there, if you get 50 people and you do a good job, the word of mouth is going to carry you a long way.
That's exactly right.
So, and their reviews. And if you really solicit them for reviews and you give them a discount on the next one if they write your review, and right. So these are all some ideas you could have. Doing that math, that comes to $500. So let's say we take $500 as a commitment. We put it into Facebook for our ads. and we run the Facebook ads. Now, the cost per Facebook ad, I don't know. You'll have to look at it and see what
it varies depending on how much you want to commit.
Depending on, and depending on what you're targeting. And
and you can also choose whether you want it to be on Facebook exclusively, or if you want it also to go to Instagram or Instagram exclusively.
Right.
And that definitely is a demographic thing.
Yeah, and I would say Facebook's a great place to start for a business like this.
Sure.
Right? Because, again, we're talking more moms and dads. And
I mean, where else? It's not going to be Twitter, X, whatever. No. Reddit, TikTok. I don't know about ads on Reddit. I don't know who does
Reddit's ads are pretty weak.
I know. Do they read? Do you
as
ever
far as
read?
Response.
I didn't even notice
really low compared to it really
it's growing.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, depending on the thing you're pushing, right? If it's skews a little younger, fantastic.
For sure.
It works really well.
Yeah.
LinkedIn even for certain things.
LinkedIn's
a funny one lately, but really Facebook and Insta are. I would just use those as my litmus test to know whether or not this is going to fly. And you could do that for almost any business. Facebook and Insta will give you enough that you will know or not. I mean, it really depends on what makes your business flow, right? Because at that point, let's say I'm doing this grill business, right? So okay, what's the next step?
Yeah.
So let's assume that we proved the concept.
Right.
We got 20 to 50 people to sign up to give us their email, because really for a service business like that, you're not just looking to say, hey, we're coming soon. You'd almost just say, we're booking for June, but there's no reason that Joe down the street can't start cleaning barbecue grills out of the back of his car, whatever that is, right? Or if Timmy, who's 16, is starting this business, he can have his mom drop him off with the cleaning supplies.
That's right.
There's nothing stopping anybody from doing these things. This is what we're talking about, is execution. Make this happen today
Assuming
or tomorrow.
The seed of the idea had legs. That's the point. That's the one thing about the idea.
So we're just proving
what can be
the idea.
acted on once you know that there's interest in it. And so we had talked, and we are talking now about, app development. It's still kind of, incubating. But how does that change when it's, for example, software as a service?
Let's right. So we've got one in the works, got multiple successful under the belt, right? So, I can look back and say, how have we done this in the past?
Yeah.
What's the difference there, or how does it grow from what we're talking about here? Listen, all of those things started small as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, they may have started in different fashions from one another, right? Like business A versus business B versus business C, totally different kinds of businesses. Occasionally a business starts organically, right? Starts small.
Right.
So it really depends on the business. Any of these businesses that you want to do, there's no reason that you should be investing so much energy and effort into building the thing until you've proved that it's worth
that there's
building.
A market for it.
Now, that's not to say proving that something is worth building doesn't necessarily always mean doing what we just outlined for that barbecue business with building a landing page, running Facebook ads against it. That's not necessarily the right way to go about every business. Sometimes you may, let's take software as a service, for example. You may have a software product, whatever it is, that you want to create. And maybe there's one feature, and this is what we talk about over and over, this one idea, there's one thing that makes this work or not.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that one thing is the thing you build out. And build it in a week. If you're a developer, 6 months. And this is talking to software developers, right?
Yeah.
Don't burn your life and your money and everything over 6 months or a year.
Right.
We've been there.
Yeah.
We've done that.
Yeah.
I've done it multiple times. Sure, you might make something successful. Chances are you're not going to.
Yeah.
Where we are successful is in failing many times, right? That's what you want to do. So fail fast.
And one of the points that we have hit on again and again, in fact, we even discovered it while thinking about this podcast, is the idea that you start out making may not even end up being the business that you build.
Just do it.
And that happens a lot. And for instance, we have found, I think, 3 or 4 offshoots just from the concept of this podcast.
Yeah.
And the various practicalities and challenges of setting up the lighting and the camera work and the audio and buying things and returning things and set design, even just on-air delivery style, things like that. Little things you wouldn't really have thought about. Like it may be in the back of your mind, but little things like that.
We could probably do an episode. I mean,
we could do it. And right now we're doing this episode because we are talking about the practicalities behind what are we talking about and why would this be of interest to people. And the most interesting thing to me is, and I always come back to the idea of Wordle. Wordle is just one of these great little things where you may have started out building one thing and not even knowing how popular it might have been. It's one of those times when you're building something that nobody said that they needed.
Right.
And suddenly it just takes off. It becomes this massive behemoth. It's still going strong, but and it's rare that something like that takes off, but you do see them happen. And that kind of idea to me seems like, when we were starting this podcast, for example, I never dreamed that some of the work that I would be doing on the background would suddenly become its own thing. Not necessarily knowing if it's even marketable yet, but just this one thing that grew out of this. We're still doing the other thing, but this now is potentially viable. And that's really interesting to me.
Yeah. And and that's why we talk about execution is
just
key.
Do it.
And just do it. And just get out, try something, start doing it. And if it fails, that's fine. Just fail fast.
Let it fail. Fail fast.
Fail
exactly
fast.
Right.
And I'm not saying don't try, and I'm not saying don't put in a solid effort. No, exactly the opposite. It's all about intensity over short bursts of time. So work on it hard for a couple weeks. Yeah. If it sucks, if it doesn't work,
or a month, or 6 weeks,
whatever.
But you don't want to do 2 years and then
you're better off
empty your savings account and remortgage your house. And,
you're better off shooting with a shotgun than getting out the sniper rifle. And
you never know what you might learn. You might learn that actually this idea that came out of that is actually the more viable idea.
Because as you're developing or working on one idea, as you're doing that. Let's say you're doing this barbecue grill thing, right? And as you're doing that, you realize, hey, you know what? Targeting geographically, I've realized that there's not a great service to figure out how many houses are in this zip code or whatever.
With these amenities or whatever.
And with these demographics, right? Like how many women are in 90210? Right. I don't know that necessarily. There's not an easy way to sure I can go look at the Secretary of State's website and this and that. Yeah. But maybe that's a service. And I don't know or think that it necessarily
that happens over
I'm
and
just
over.
saying throughout that process, you will find 100 different ideas. And if you create 20 of those ideas and put them out there and one of them sticks, that could be your unicorn.
That's what it takes. And how often do you see stories of businesses, even large corporations, that have a business product or service, they end up having to in-house build their own, software solution.
Eat their own dog food.
Yeah. I know, and that software solution becomes its own thing. Now, they would never sell it, but that actually became its own development. They might. So anyway, that was kind of the idea for this little episode, to kind of break out why we started this, what the ideas were behind it, why we feel like so many others out there might be interested. We come from somewhat of you come from a tech background. I come from a more of a design marketing background, but we both sort of align on our thinking. And the ideas that have come out of just this little project have been eye-opening, and we hope that you find them eye-opening too.